This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency space. Hey folks, it is clear that DeFi is continuing to drive innovation and growth in the crypto space. The Crypto Conversation sponsor BitGet has dived deep into DeFi with the recent evolution of the BitGet wallet, a self-custody multi-chain DeFi wallet. You can think of the BitGet wallet as the integration of some of the best parts of decentralized finance, or DeFi, with the BitGet exchange, centralized finance, or CeFi structure. And it's more than just secure storage. One of the most important aspects of the Web3 BitGet wallet is BitGet Swap, which supports tokens from more than 90 different blockchains and offers cross-chain compatibility across 17 different chains. BitGet Swap aggregates liquidity across 100 DEXs and leverages intelligent routing mechanisms to provide users with the best trading prices across different protocols. So try the BitGet wallet. Download the app today. I've put a link in the show notes, or just go to web3.bitget.com. All right. Well, thank you to BitGet. And now it is on with the show. My guest today is Evan Cheng. Evan is the co-founder and CEO at Mysten Labs, among other things, building Sui, an innovative decentralized layer 1 blockchain, hoping to help redefine asset ownership in the digital age. Hey, welcome to the show, Evan.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you here, Evan. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It'd be great if you could please introduce yourself. I'd love to hear a little bit about your personal and a professional backstory, just the highlights if you like. But yeah, what has led you to, I suppose, founding Mysten Labs and helping to build out Web3? Where have you been?
So I've been in the tech business for 26 years. Did a couple of startups early in my career, then joined Apple, stayed there for 10 years. Did a lot of stuff at Apple, received a lot of recognition. What I can say about it is every single one of you, pretty much billions of devices out there are running my software, which is exciting and scary at the same time, because I know I was, wrote a lot of code back then. So from that point on, I moved to Facebook to build out their programming language and some other organizations. Had a successful career at Facebook. So the interesting inflection point was in 2015. I started looking at cryptocurrency, just like everybody else started out looking at Bitcoin, then Ethereum, sort of excited about the concept, a world computer, excited about having a platform that sort of help with coordination that's essential for moving the internet, the products from this hyper centralized platform onto a more peer-to-peer model. I prefer the term peer-to-peer rather than decentralization, because I think that's confusing from a product behavior perspective. But anyway, that's where the internet was about. So I'm excited about it, but also feel like there's a lot of opportunity for me to contribute, because I did not believe, and I still stand by it, a lot of the limitation of the technology, a lot of mistakes, especially around smart contract language, can be solved easily. That's where a lot of my expertise come. So I started to get involved, advise a number of projects such as Chainlink, bringing on speakers and guest lectures to Facebook. And before you know it, Facebook started doing something in the space called Libra Project. I joined it to run R&D, and you probably know the story. Hit some challenges with that project, but I was able to build out the team, and I brought my team out in late 2021 to form Mysten Lab. So that's my story. I mean, the TLDR is I really believe that fundamentally the change, the trend the social trend, the product trend is moving in this direction of the walled garden is not going to be the model we see in the future. It's going to be more collaborative across multiple different properties, and you're seeing this already in fashion, for example. Collaboration, of all kinds are happening. You see the trend of individual want to be in control of their own life, want to be their own boss, want to be their own brand. It is inevitable. I absolutely believe the role public blockchains can play in that move, getting back from centralized to decentralized. And I want to be part of that.
Yeah, fantastic, Evan. Thank you so much for that. And look, it's I suppose from my perspective, it's a treat to have someone like yourself on the show who has spent time, deep in Facebook and Apple, obviously two of the largest tech companies in the world. Meta, I suppose we should call it now. And look, I'm sorry to get, I guess, kind of, this philosophical so early in the show, but it's just, you have such a unique perspective on this. If you think that, let's just say, Web3 and the use of public, uncensorable, decentralized global blockchains is the future, and of course everyone working in various parts of, let's just say, the crypto industry has the same thoughts. You'll be very familiar that, I suppose, Apple, Google, maybe to a lesser extent Meta, but most of the big tech companies have been resistant to crypto. I think it's fair to say, and fair enough in the early years, because I think the correct attitude to various parts of the crypto industry is to be skeptical in the early years. That does make sense. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious, just from your perspective, how will that start to change, and when will that change? Be great if the likes of Apple could make really, put their minds to solving some of the crypto problems, mm-hmm. getting some really nice wallets, all that kind of stuff. Evan.
Yeah, it's a great question. Technology changes, society changes, product experience changes. We have seen this over and over again. I mean, we kind of spoiled today. Each one of us has a smartphone in our pockets, right? We can access information right away. You forget what it was like 10, even 5-10 years ago. Things change, right? Back in the days, the internet experience for a lot of people was AOL, CompuServe, Prodigy. Those were what people consider internet. They were walled gardens in a way. Then become open internet, and it started out to be quite, basic. Do a few jobs well, sending email, transfer files, much more peer-to-peer, right? Much more protocol plus a thin layer becomes a product, and then becomes much, much more complicated. As things get more complicated, what happens is humans and consumers trading off control for convenience. And if you want convenience, you want someone to kind of take care of a lot of complexity for you, and you look to the ones that you trust, and you give away control of your information, your assets. And this is what led to Web2, right? So basically, so it's all consumer content or user generated content, but being managed custody by centralized platforms. And it's a win-win situation early on, until it isn't, right? And in every day you hear about sort of the change in policies or in algorithm of these centralized platform impact the livelihood of individual creators. And other things are happening because the smaller companies that depends on this platform to reach the customers are not finding as effective, or finding as be more and more expensive, or they lost that relationship with their customer. So all those sort of things are resulting in a recognition. This model shouldn't last forever. It will not last forever. There's got to be a better way. That better way will be a coordination kind of model, rather than this I trust you. You manage everything for us, for me model. Now, when it was going to change? Well, nobody really know. And will these platforms change? Some of them are more playing in this aware because their business models are more amenable to changes. Some will not. Like there's no way to predict if any of these big platforms will still be the dominant platform 5, 10 years down the road. No way to predict who will change, who are ready to disrupt themselves. But what we do know is, product builders and services, people are trying, or people have recognition, right? I think, if you're familiar with, for example, Fortnite, Tim Sweeney is one of the, great entrepreneur, one that,
Yes.
just is a great person, right? Done a lot in the world. I think he says something like along the lines of, you see a world where the world of Fortnite or the economy of Fortnite interact with, say, a Roblox kind of, world. So people recognize, right, that there is this interest to go beyond the walled garden. It would be very, very exciting purely from almost like a geeky point of view, right? A technical point of view. This, Ready Player One concept where you own your assets, you go anywhere you want, and you you're always yourself rather than every world is a walled garden, right? So even these very, very smart people recognize it. Perhaps they don't know quite know the sort of the role a blockchain can play. But if you really think about it, right, this model where each of these world custody your asset for you just would not work in that world, right? If you want to break out the walled garden, it has to be the user in the middle and they control their own asset. It has to be a coordination. It cannot be completely private and information and being shared with another private world. That just fundamentally is broken model. So if you recognize that, you understand the trend.
Yes,
And
yes.
you see it is going to happen, and how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. Well, this is why we're here, right? We are. I want that to happen. I want to move forward, and the way to move forward is not to go directly challenge this big incumbent and say, please change your business model, do this. That never happens. You have to basically empower developer to show what can be done, perhaps from a smaller scale. But we've seen this happen, right? It's like one app come out of nowhere that show a new model, and all of a sudden everybody sort of follow it. And you also see this a lot in gaming. Gaming is a fascinating industry that constantly changes business model. Back in the days when you go recognize, hey, the way we distribute our goods, selling copies of games isn't efficient. They try a shareware model. You get the software for free, but you pay fee to unlock. You literally call, then on the phone operator give you a key and lock, and then you can play Doom, right? And then it becomes free to play where everybody hates it, right? It's the devil. But then they figure out how to actually use this mechanism to acquire customer, engage customer, how to identify well, monetize, all these sort of things. It changed the way the relationship between products and services and the consumers, and one can argue whether it's good and bad, but these changes do happen, and when they happen, it happen really quickly because all it takes is a few example success, and everybody else, if you focus on just purely on the product builder side, once they recognize, see something works, they copy, they follow, they tweak it, they make it better, and you have this competition in who can figure it out best, who can then become the dominant player. That will happen, and we just want to empower these builders because we do believe this is fundamentally better for the consumer. This is fundamentally better for developers as well.
Yeah, look, that's really well said. Some excellent points in there, Evan. And I guess just it makes me think because, of course, in the background of what you were talking about there with the likes of Tim Sweeney from Fortnite and the kind of you're right. He's a visionary guy, and if we want to get to that kind of Ready Player One world, it's people like Tim that will help us get there. Of course, I guess the elephant in the room is the likes of Apple. Unfortunately, your previous employers who they're really incentivized not to do that simply because they make an incredible amount of money by clipping the ticket all the way through in that walled garden. But the point that you make, Evan, and I think it's really insightful, is no one can go along to Apple and just say, hey, can you rearrange your business model? Because they have no reason to do that. So instead, as Mr. Buckminster Fuller, a favorite quote of mine is that from him is, of course, that you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And I think that is really the crux of the matter. Blockchain rails make the old models obsolete, and it is up to us to make them fit for purpose, really, for the new world. So great context so far then, Evan. Look, let's learn a little bit about, I suppose, Mysten Labs. Just anything you want to tell us in terms of origin story, or just get right to the good stuff in terms of the vision for the future for Mysten Labs.
Yeah, I mean, you probably all know that Mysten Lab came out of the Facebook's Libra project, and there were five of us, five founders. I was running the R&D team, and my co-founders were the best of the best in their respective fields, right? Our chief scientist, George, is a world-renowned distributed system researcher and previously built blockchains. Our cryptographer, invents so many things that we're going to talk about, like ZK logging. He's one of the most prolific applied cryptographer I ever met in my life. Famously, I published like 9 papers, in the one year or half a year. On my team, Sam, our CTO, he invented Move, the smart contract language that powers now multiple blockchains and a lot more, gather a lot of interest, right? So and not last but not least, right? My partner Edney, he's our chief product officer. He's just a great one of those rare product person who gets it, not getting, understand how payment works, understand how all these things work, right? Enterprise works, also understand, crypto stuff, right? So we're unique mix and very unique, 5 co-founders, very unique. We get along well because even though we're super like highly opinionated, a very, very strong will person, people, and it's a unique combination. And then obviously we were able to attract a lot of great people join us, either from the Libra project or from other parts, or from Facebook or other companies. I think our background is somewhat different, right? I'm definitely not your typical crypto person that's in their 20s or early 30s. I've been around a lot, right? And it's also, so many of us have. Not me, I dropped a PhD, but so many have PhDs and then done a lot of things, and academic career as well as research career as well as industry career, right? Very, very interesting mix. Perhaps the part that's really, really very different, right? This is something that the investor asked us early on. It's like, why do we have a chief product officer? Well, so we recognize one of the challenges of this whole entire space is, well, there doesn't seem to be a lot of understanding what product builders want, right? It's too much like, hey, we have this cool technology, we can show you some of these products that you can build with it, therefore you should use it, right? Not as much understanding of how like consumer grade products are built, what enterprise needs, and what would it take for something to go viral, what would it take for some products to have a better user experience than other. And I think that's a unique perspective and background we have, right? We've done a lot of things and being in these bigger platforms, and we see both sides, and we bring that to this space. And I think that's one of the most unique aspect of Mysten Lab is we're not just, hey, here's a blockchain that you can write smart contract and get at a front end and do these things, the DGM products. we care about those because those are great experimentations and they serve an active, passionate community. But we also care about, hey, what can we do to make sure the product builders have all the tools they need, to serve billions of users. And we want to be almost like the AWS kind of model, right? We want to build all these different building blocks for them and abstract away all the complexity of the underlying technology. So yeah, that's a bit about us, right? So and we approach is very different, right? You see us working with big companies, small companies, startup, ecosystem, building ecosystem. We care about DeFi, we care about NFTs, we care about all these things. At the same time, we're working with the likes of Rebel Racing, we're working with the likes of Netmarble, NCSoft, NHM, big corporations as well. Yeah, lots of things that's kind of different than your typical crypto group.
So I want to just dive into Sui, but Red Bull Racing. What are you doing for Red Bull Racing? I'm a Formula One fan myself. Yeah. I don't know if you mean Red Bull Racing Formula One or because Red Bulls are, they do a lot of different stuff. But yeah, Red Bull Racing. What are you doing?
Yeah, so like a lot of kind of we actually do a lot in the fan engagement space. I think a lot of these sports franchise recognize a lot of the fan don't actually ever get the opportunity to see the race or the games
very expensive
in person.
Yes.
Very, very expensive. It's not always accessible. And how do you engage this fan is incredibly important. And having a blockchain kind of platform that really allow the sports franchise to have a direct connection with a fan is a powerful tool for commerce, right? And so it's a win-win, right? You have this direct link between you with your fan, and the fans can have a richer experience. You can experiment things to do a lot of experimentation on how to engage them, how to reward them. You can even imagine, changing how ticketing is done, how royalty points are done, lots of things, right? So the great partner, we're working with them on all these fronts, and yeah, also they're the fastest, the best F1 team. They're so dominant. They're just kind of sweet. We're the fastest, so it's like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. All right. Well, shout out to Christian Horner and of course Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team. All right. Interesting, Evan. Let's just whatever you want to share about Sui. I mean, you don't need to get kind of super technical, but obviously, you and your team at Mysten Labs are, a pretty solid looking team. I think everyone knows that, and on the cutting edge, to use the cliche. But just talk to us, give us the, I suppose, snapshot of what Sui is, and I suppose how it differs from other layer ones, and what you think gives you a competitive advantage.
Yeah, first of all, it's not a clone, right? It's not derived or fork of anything. We built pretty much the entire stack from the ground up. So our recognition is a lot of blockchain have limitations. That's going to be very apparent. Either the limitation results in expensive usage, using them becomes expensive or slow, or they're just going to be limitations that prevent you from moving the field forward. Let me talk about a few things specifically, right? All the other blockchain talk about scalability, right? But again, if you're thinking from a product builder perspective, they don't think about scalability. They think about, if I want predictability. I want to know exactly beforehand how much I'm paying. I want to know if I increase my usage, you're going to have the capacity to support me, right? That's about elasticity, supply and demand balancing. So we're looking at the things at a very different angle. So our entire pipeline, how we think about scalability, how do we think about on-demand scalability is very different. People talk about security, right? But they still use, for example, Solidity. Well, let's just be frank. From somebody with my background, I can tell you Solidity will never, ever be safe, right? So you need a language that's completely, analyzable statically. You have to be able to prove it ahead of time it's 100% correct. Otherwise, you will never be trustworthy. Right. So you have to think about all these other building blocks that's important, right? So NFT for say ERC 721, all these other blockchains are storing the content of chain and storing even only the hash on chain, right? That's ridiculous. The whole point of having blockchain is you want to have smart contract to be able to operate on things automatically for you because they disintermediate, right? If for every smart contract, every entity is just a link to certain things that live off chain, the smart contract can do nothing about them because it all look the same. These are completely opaque, right? If you cannot store metadata on chain, you are not able to represent assets fully. And if these assets are static, you cannot change them, you're even more limited. So you have to fix the storage problem, on-chain storage problem, and it's not a separate layer of complexity solution. It has to be something natural. I define what the asset look like, it's on-chain, or the parts, whatever you want to construct it. So we look at things very differently. So beyond the blockchain, then we think about, okay, what is the experience for consumer, right? If you are downloading the app, you never want to say, the first thing you have to do is like figuring out how much I'm going to pay to play this, right? It's like a lot of time you don't want the gas experience. That should be abstract away. That has to be a building primitive for product builder or operators say, I will pay the gas for the consumers. You have to eliminate the complexity of the onboarding experience. If you are playing a Web3 game and you turn on your TV and connect to your computer, the first thing I ask you is like, please connect your wallet. You're going to lose 99% of the customers. And if you add another, say, next step, please acquire some tokens to pay for gas, you're going to lose the remaining 99% of the users, right? These things are just non-starter. Product builders don't want to deal with and consumer don't want to deal with it. So these have to be primitive. That's solved. And that's why we build things like ZK logging, because you don't want to ask consumer to think about wallets and their C recoveries, kind of phrases and all that sort of thing. So we're really rethinking and rebuilding the entire stack from the ground up. And we are building all these other layers on top that makes then like powerful primitives that will solve problems, in ways that we don't see other blockchains doing holistically as we are.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will resonate with that because crypto's problem really, look, no one's more familiar with this stuff than you, Evan, but the UI, the UX, it makes sense to, I guess, crypto natives, cryptographers, DeFi nerds, people like that. But for the vast majority, the 99.9% of people, yeah, it's just too much. So I'd love it if you can. I get that these are the problems that we need to solve. Then Evan, and this is this is what you and your team are working on. Give us a sense then of, I suppose, how long along that timeline or product roadmap, if you like, are we to really decomplexifying, abstracting away some of the stuff and making it just a beautiful, seamless Web 2 type experience, and then maybe build into that, where you see, I guess, the next wave of users coming from eventually.
It's almost here. I mean, I think we built a lot of the building blocks already. Sui went mainnet in May, so it's about a little over 5 months now. It's been really stable. Everything works as we expected. And then we released, we have sponsored transaction fairly early on. So gasless experience. And now we abstract away the wallet experience. ZK logging, now the experience is more like, okay, I log in with my Google Gmail account, I type in a password. The magic of ZK logging, they add a salt and all that, so you're completely private and unique, and also, you don't have to think about all this complexity of managing your keys and all that, and it's completely non-custodial. But then we build on top of that, right? So now you're going to see more and more this kind of use cases beyond just logins, right? We're going to put out building blocks or example to show what a payment experience look like. Can you send some kind of certificate rewards or something to someone who have never used crypto before? Would be great. I just send to you, Andy p.p@gmail.com, and you get an email and say can click this, and then that assets right there for you, right? Think about if you're building a game, you can send that to your customer. Here's your starter kit, right? Don't worry about downloading anything. Here you go. It's there when you're ready to log in. These things basically continue to build up the abstraction level, right? Actually providing solutions rather than providing like very, very low level, kind of thing, complexity. So what's not there yet, the products are actually live using these things and show the new experience, but that's what we are about. Like, we're working actively with our partners to build these products that will be showcases. And we're super excited about it, because then it's just purely based on the merits of the product, right? It's not like, hey, you use my product because you are a fan of Cheng Y, therefore you will use this product because you want to get some free tokens. I think that's limited, right? It's going to be like a completely seamless consumer experience. It just so happened they also using blockchain in a way, and you introduce this concept, the ownership model, and they like it. They can now experience more. With other kind of products, they can even manage their own set if they want, right? And then from the product builder side, you say, hey, this is great. Now I have a new distribution model, new interaction model with my consumer. I have a direct relationship, direct link with them. Why don't I use this to build on top? I continue to build this to solve a lot of my customer acquisition engagement problem. This may even down the road challenge the advertising, how advertising is done. So all those possibilities just going to be unlocked, right? But this is the progression.
Yeah.
We will, once the killer app, the apps are live, and we'll keep building. We'll reassess where we are.
Of course, to get there, Evan, it's one thing, of course, to build a fantastic Web3 ready stack. Of course, you need to attract not only developers, but users. And there are so many different chains, so many different ecosystems that people can choose to either use or build on. You said something quite concerning earlier about Solidity. You said that Solidity will never be safe. So what are you saying? Are you saying that Ethereum is doomed? And if that is kind of the case, and look, I'm sure there's so many different blockchain systems out there that are doomed. Let's be honest about that. And that kind of future world where we see Ethereum fall over, or all these other ecosystems die out, so many scammers and all that kind of stuff. How can the good actors, people like yourself and Sui and Mysten Labs, kind of survive for the good of the space? But I'd love to just get your perspectives on what's wrong with Ethereum.
I mean, I don't think we have enough time to go into that, and I don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
But since we touch on Solidity, right? So remember the concept of blockchain, right? It's distributed trust, right? You don't trust centralized entity. Instead, you want to trust a blockchain and trust the smart contract, trust software. But the software is written in a programming language that allows dynamic behavior, which is not analyzable. So, all these problems we're seeing with reentrancy, it's usually exploring these kind of behavior, these kind of, features. Coupled with that, it's a kind of a interface, right? So you define an interface such as ERC something, and then you expect everyone to follow the interface and implement according to the interface, but you don't you can't possibly analyze all the possible implementation. It could be a poison implementation that's intentionally trying to trick you. So you're going to continue to see these hacks over and over and over again. And these are fundamentally very, very difficult to find, because if you, I mean, just be honest, right? If it's dynamic, means you cannot analyze until runtime, that therefore you cannot ahead of time predict or prove it's 100% safe. There's just too fundamentally broken on that front. This is what I mean by Solidity will never be safe. And this is why we're continue to see these hacks happen, right? Because it's the dominant, smart contract language, and it's really, really bad, right? It's like it hurts me. The first time I saw Solidity, I was like, no way. No. Right. I was just like, no, 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 no. Right. Right. This is wrong. So look, I think thinking about acquiring customer, right? Bringing customer into Web3, it's important, right? We all know the early adopters are the most passionate user, the most powerful one, but it's not, but it's ultimately going to be limited, right? So right now, all the blockchains are acquiring customers through DeFi's and these crypto native products. It's great, but it's not sufficient. So what we need is broaden the appeal. When you think about if you're a fan of like TikTok, or you start using a next new viral mainstream product, you don't think about what cloud service or whatever they use underneath, right? Who cares? From a consumer perspective, you use it because you love the product experience. It does something for you, entertain you, or rewards you, or connect you with others, right? All that sort of thing. And that's ultimately what's going to happen with the space as well, right? It's majority of the Web3 users are going to be brought in through the products, through the platforms, not because they are huge supporter of Cardano or whatever, right? It's not. That is not enough. That's just relatively small in terms of the internet scale.
Yeah.
There's how many wallets out there versus how many billions of email accounts out there? It's night and day, right? So that's what's going to happen, right? I think the concept will stay. Blockchains will stay, even if there were some dramatic events, certain mainstream, big blockchain ultimately hits limitation. It's not going to kill the industry, right? Because as I say earlier, right, this is the trend that's changing, and the world always operate this way. You move from one direction to another and back, and it finds equilibrium. And the trend away from highly centralized, giving the information, your data, your asset to be controlled by a trusted entity will fundamentally change, right? It's like not everything is like a bank, right? You trust bank with your money, but you shouldn't trust other platform with all your information, your assets, and all that. And the experience is also subpar because of that. So that will happen, and I don't think any of the these hacks or these unfortunate events slow down progress. But we as people in the industry need to recognize, we can't continue to do the same thing over and over. We got to break out, right? We cannot be we're waiting for the bull run to come, right? We have to help build products that millions or hundreds of millions of consumers will want to come use, and that's what ultimately will make us successful.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right. Well, thank you so much, Evan. Let's just as we finish up this part of the podcast, for anyone listening who is perhaps a developer and is intrigued by the stack you're building, or just a crypto user, or perhaps a brand. You never know who's listening from the world of F1 and beyond, Evan. But if they want to explore you and your team at Mysten Labs and Sui, what should they do? Where should they go?
Well, the best place to go, I'll say go to sui.io to look at the website, learn about Sui, and read the blogs. If you're a developer, look at the developer docs and the various examples. Another way to go follow Mysten Labs, Mysten_Labs, Twitter account, Sui's Twitter account. You get a lot of information and see what the communities are doing. You can download the Sui wallet or other wallets and play it around with the very thing. We have a Quest, campaign that's happening now soon. Go play, go join that. If you can't, to learn a bit more. For this Quest 3, I think there's 10 games participating. You get some experience, what that a 3 experience on 3-based Web3 game look like, right? A lot of them use this invisible wallet experience, gasless experience and all that. Once you have that, quite some Sui, you can learn how easily to stake your token. Like you literally do that and you can move from one validator to another validator like that, right? There's no unbounding, no weight, right? It's like mind-blowing kind of experience. You can check out our DeFi ecosystem that has doubled in TVL over the last months, and we're now in almost like in pretty soon we'll be top 10 in terms of transaction volume. So lots of things to play with, lots of ways to get engaged. A lot more to come. Read about our ZK logging, how it works. It's like a sufficiently advanced technology. It's like magic. All that sort of thing.
Very well said. Thank you, Evan. And I'll put links in the show notes, of course, to Sui. Let's go to a very quick break and then we'll come back. We'll finish off. We'll have some fun. We'll run Evan through the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in 1 second.
All done.
You mean the toast?
Something tastier. I've just copied an elite trader on BitGet. One click and it's done.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't have to sit here manually spying on the moves of smart money and crypto and copying them. I just have to click once, sit back, BitGet does the rest.
You are so lazy.
It's about working smarter, not harder. Copy it until you make it.
Hands off, gains up. Start copy trading on BitGet.
And we are back, and I'm with Evan Cheng. Evan, of course, is the co-founder and CEO at Mysten Labs, building Sui from the ground up. Very effective looking layer 1 blockchain stack to help redefine asset ownership in Web3 for the future. Evan, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Yes, bring it on.
Just going to run some questions at you, Evan. Just want kind of quick, snappy, honest, hot take style answers. Question 1 for you, Evan. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I own Bitcoin. I view it as digital gold. I see the value. It's a grand, this is how this all starts. But I'm not a maxi. Multi-chain, I think it's not going to be the case in the long run. Power law dictates there's going to be a very, very small number of winners, and the ones that have the breakthrough, achieve product market fit, achieve escape velocity is going to attract most of the developers, and the developers, the products are going to attract most of the users. The whole point is to have small number of global settlement layer for different kinds of assets. It's not lots and lots of different chains. So I think we're going through the phase of discovery, and then in 10 years, it's going to be a very, very different environment.
Yeah. Nicely said. All right. Well, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion, Evan?
Well, apart from Sui will be a dominant player, I will say it is going to be consumer product that changes everything. It's going to rationalize a lot of this market. It's going to be more based on merits rather than hype. That is just how things are. There's no other way to it. It's hype-driven kind of cycle can only last so long. It will have to be value, impact to consumers. that make things stick.
Evan, William Gibson famously said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
It's a good one. So absolutely, right? We are looking at some of the demos our team are cooking up in terms of like payment experience that is going to blow people's mind, right? So the future is here. My teams are looking at it right now. Like I can preview a little bit. ZK logging is not just about logging. There's things you can do on top of it. It's going to be mind blowing. So yeah, absolutely, it's already here.
I love it. All right. Earlier in the show, Evan, not to dwell on it, but you were, fairly down on Solidity, shall we say, and I suppose therefore the Ethereum ecosystem. But you did say Bitcoin, digital gold, you own Bitcoin. What about a Bitcoin from, I guess, I'm just interested in, I suppose, your thoughts on Bitcoin from your technical perspective. Any potential issues in Bitcoin that keep you up at night?
Yeah, I think because Bitcoin is in a lot of ways simple, what its purpose, its architecture, is trying to, is achieve that product market fit. I don't really worry about that from that perspective. I think it's going to stick around. Yeah, I think Bitcoin is good as it is. We'll see about the 21 million limitation if it doesn't achieve. The other purpose is like, in terms of utility, in terms of, it's not just store value, but it's also transfer value. If there's not enough fees to, whether there will be some concerns about its security down the road. But apart from that, I think Bitcoin is good as it is.
Very well said. All right, as we start to finish off, you used another favorite quote of mine, which is, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And, it's a great way of explaining a lot of what is happening in the world, from everything from virtual reality to AI to various parts of crypto. And the company that does often spring to mind is Apple, right? Because they create beautiful products, and I'm sure part of the Apple ethos is to design user experiences that feel like magic. What is a crypto product that Apple should be building, and when do you think they will do so?
Oh, okay. So let me say something first, right? It's like funny. I used that exact quote yesterday in my tweet to describe our ZK logging. So it's like we didn't coordinate on that. It's funny they brought it up. So Apple, that's very interesting. I think.
And it was Arthur C. Clarke that I think originally coined that phrase.
Yeah. I think Apple can do so much for the individuals if they just loosen it up a little bit of the control, especially from the creator side. And I think this is perhaps, Apple is incredibly probably the smartest company in the world. I mean, country is as big as some countries. They will recognize the trend. They may very well recognize, hey, this is an opportunity for us to really reward, kind of the creators on our platform that depend so much on us. Right now, they are dependent on platform like TikTok and Instagrams and other. Maybe we can do something, a new kinds of platform for creators to engage with their consumer. And I think, this could be a way for them to utilize sort of the Web3 technology, and they wouldn't challenge their business model. If I think that would be a great, we would love to see Apple tackle that.
Wouldn't we all? All right, let's finish this off. Evan, the final question is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
I already kind of touch on this. I loved Ready Player One.
Yes.
The book is better than the movie, but the movie was pretty awesome too. The visual were great. It's in a lot of ways like inspiring. You should think about that world where you really are it's like there's a lot of downside to it. There's dystopia world, but ignoring this part, right? The imagination, it's unlocked, right? You take whatever you own with you at all time to visit different world, even if it take different shape. It's like it's what got every geeky person like myself excited about imagining the future. I'll say that was the one. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Great book, and it's a great movie too. Thank you so much for spending some time on the show with us today, Evan. It has been a pleasure to hear your thoughts on everything from Web3 to Apple to the future to Facebook. Nothing else to say really again, but just close it out by telling people where they can dive into what you guys are building at Sui, and shout out your Twitter profile, Evan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a blast. Oh yes, I'm Twitter. My Twitter account is Evan Web3. Awesome. Very simple.
All right. Thank you so much, Evan. All the best, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Well, how good was that? Fantastic. Really enjoyed talking to Evan. Sometimes you never know when, because I do so many podcasts, done so many episodes, over 400. You never know, which guests are going to be the really good ones. And Evan was a really good one. Such a smart guy, just interesting, insightful takes on big tech, how we move to the next model of the internet, and so on. So yeah. I enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're listening here at the end of the show, I guess hopefully you did. If you are listening here at the end of the show, please do make sure you are subscribed to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But that is it for today. Thanks to BitGet, our sponsor, of course. Links are in the show notes to all the various BitGet platforms and, of course, Mysten Labs and Sui. All right. Thanks, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See ya.